Two schools, two totally different weekends ahead. Nebraska fans are getting ready to welcome in a new coach and a new era in Lincoln, while Iowa's one win away from back to back Big Ten West titles. This game's not nationally relevant, but these teams don't like each other at all, and four straight games coming down to the final drive tells us all we need to know about this rivalry. At Iowa's best and Nebraska's worst during the Frost era, this game came down to 3 points, and now with new lows for both these teams, why would Vegas expect this outcome to be any different? I know a lot of Nebraska fans have been checked out these last few weeks, but every one of them wants to see Iowa lose more than they want to see Nebraska win. So today, I'm giving you my preview and prediction for this game against Iowa, and we'll talk about how Mickey Joseph's team can pull off the upset. But what's up, guys? I'm Connor Hayden, and this is Corn Crazed. If you're a fan of Nebraska or the Big Ten, make sure you hit the subscribe button below so you don't miss my live reaction to whichever new head coach gets hired. And if you think Iowa's overrated as a 10-point favorite, hit the like button now, because to me, that feels like too many points. But now, let's get into it.
Yet across midfield. Touchdown, Nebraska! Omar Manning!
Iowa's path to another Big Ten West title's been interesting. They started off 3-4 with losses to Iowa State and Illinois, but they stormed back with 4 wins in a row in the division in pretty dominating fashion. Their national stats rankings are pretty surprising. In total offense, Iowa ranks 130th, but in total D, they're number 6. I know Nebraska's D was annoyed that they had to carry an offense that couldn't score, but at least there was an excuse with the coaching transition. How do you think Iowa's D feels? Regardless, this team still finds a way to win just enough to keep fans happy, and another 9-win season's expected as of today. I know everybody's excited about the coaching search, so if you missed last night's live stream, I was on there for 2 hours ranking potential hires and giving my thoughts on every scenario you could think of. So if you're into long-form content or you want to see me in my most emotional state, having a heart-to-heart with subscribers in the chat, I linked that video in the top right corner so you can check it out once we're done here. And people ask me all the time, how can I support the channel? So if you haven't seen it yet, I've got a merch store. It's corncraze.com, and I've got the link in the description below to make it easier. But if you use the discount code GBR, that gets you 25% off whatever you order. I've got these stickers on the site. They look great. They're only $5. They ship for free, and you get 25% off. So just a thought if you want to support the channel. Nebraska's 3-8 against Iowa since they joined the Big Ten, but in the last 11 games, only 4 were decided by more than 8 points. The games might be sloppy, but they're physical every time, and the guys who play in them want to win. Bad. Last year in Lincoln, Nebraska was in control. Logan Smothers started hot, the defense was playing great, as they had all year, but a bad break on special teams paired with a couple turnovers ended Frost's hope at getting his first ever win over Iowa. They secured a championship game bid and went on to get blown out by Michigan by 39 points. And I'm sure the same thing will happen this year, but maybe they can keep it within 21 so we can at least watch that game for more than the first half. This year, both the quarterbacks are healthy, and even though they're facing some struggles with other parts of the offense, at least we know we'll see peak leadership and experience at the one position that can completely change the game. We rarely see teams at full strength by late November, and this year's no different. Starting safety Marquise Buford Jr. went down early against Wisconsin last week, and he's not going to play in this one. But in his first year as a starter, he was a major bright spot and finished with 59 tackles, 2 interceptions, and he forced a fumble. So any DC who comes in is definitely going to be excited to get Marquise back. Iowa's offense is already bad, but now they might be missing their number 1 tight end, number 1 right guard, and their number 1 fullback, who are all left off the depth chart this week. Sam Laporta has been their number 1 offensive player by far, and he's got 53 catches for 600 yards as a tight end, which is twice as many as any of their receivers. Their fullbacks only got 6 touches this year, but that's a key position for an offense who runs the ball 3 times as much as they throw it. The starting right guard didn't play last week against Minnesota, and he doesn't sound likely now, so the offense that's already struggled a ton is probably in for some of those same issues, but now with less experienced starters. Rather than talk about the matchup and what the stats say, since we all know what these two bring to the table, I think talking about how Nebraska can pull the upset is more interesting. So let's do that. Number 1, the offense has to convert more third downs. Against Wisconsin, Nebraska only converted 5 of 11 times, and one more conversion with 3 minutes left in the game not only would have drained another minute off the clock, but at the very least, it would have pushed Wisconsin back further, making it tougher to make a game winning drive since a field goal wouldn't have gotten it done. The offense is clearly better on third down with Casey over a backup, but they can't settle for punts that give Iowa the short field. Field goals and field position are the two most important factors in determining who wins when both teams are known to struggle on offense. Number two, the defense has to stop the run and force Iowa to throw. Like Graham Mertz last week, Spencer Petras has some issues. Mertz had a couple good passes at the end of the game that boosted Wisconsin to a win, but Petras has a way lower ceiling than Mertz. He's only completing 56% of his passes, and he's thrown as many interceptions as he has touchdowns this year. His number one target, Sam Laporta's out, so relying on two receivers who average less than 2 catches a game and a backup tight end to will him to victory sounds like a stretch. Wisconsin ran for 235 yards and averaged almost 5 yards a carry. They rarely had to throw, and because of that, Wisconsin controlled the clock, and Mertz only made one mistake on 18 passes. Iowa's running backs nowhere near as good as Braylon Allen, so if the line can limit the 5+ yard runs, I like the defense's chances at getting off the field quick. Number three, the receivers have to catch the ball. I don't know what the stats say, but I do know I've seen it happen way too often. Casey gets the ball in the vicinity, and Palmer or Washington just can't hang on, and drives stall out. Casey's already struggling to get balls out perfect because he has to release it quicker than he wants. But when the catchable ones hit the ground, it's demoralizing for the entire team. And that takes us to number four. Mark Whipple needs to call plays that get Trey Palmer wide open. Trey's 2 touchdowns last week and some of his best plays from this entire season have been those 15 to 20 yard throws underneath the safety where only Trey can grab it. Teams have learned that Trey can get loose over the top, and Iowa's defense is going to be all over it. Whipple's lined him up in the slot and on the outside, so if he can figure out which matchups give him the best chance to catch it short and have room to make a play on his own after, I hope Casey's okay with throwing it short all game and hopes that the passes aren't as contested and we end up seeing less drop balls. I wouldn't call this one of the keys to winning, but I do want to point out something we've been asking for all year that Casey finally started doing last week. He tucked it and ran multiple times. We knew he had legs, it just felt like he was too stubborn and took sacks more than he needed to because he wouldn't run it when nothing was available downfield. Against Wisconsin, he ran for almost 60 yards and had multiple 8 to 15 yard carries to keep momentum going. This is probably Casey's last game at Nebraska, and knowing how much work he's put in and how rough this year was for him, I'd love to see him take over a game and do whatever it takes and whatever he has to do to score and finish his career in Lincoln on a positive note. I dropped a poll for subscribers a bit ago, and most of us are thinking this line's crazy, so let's talk about the spread for this game and why it's so big. Iowa opened as a 10.5 point favorite, which is the exact same spread we saw at kickoff last weekend against Wisconsin. I get that Nebraska was at home and that game didn't mean as much as this one does for Iowa. But has Vegas not learned after Minnesota, Purdue, and Wisconsin that double-digit spreads in the West just don't make sense? Iowa's playing for a West title, and they've improved over the course of the year. But this is the last game for Mickey Joseph and this staff, so I'm guessing the players are still motivated to go out and win. Iowa's been great on defense, and the only team in the West who scored more than 10 was Northwestern with 13. But Nebraska scores 20 plus in this game every year, and the defense is always elite. So if Bush can hold Iowa to 24, I love getting 10.5 with a great shot at scoring 14. The total's set to 38.5, and I lean under based on what we saw last week. But again, history tells us these two teams force a lot of turnovers on each other, and it usually ends up being close to a 50-point game. So in honor of Mickey, and this being the official last game of the Frost era, I've got to bet the spread, and I'm taking the over. So right now on BroThrow, I can see a ton of bets on Nebraska from our Corn Craze group. And if you want to make a bet for this game this week or during bowl season, you can sign up and make a free account at brothrow.com/GBR as long as you're 18 plus and live in any of the 50 states since it's legal to use anywhere. You don't have to make a deposit, and you get paid for your wins via Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or any other services they accept. And most important of all, you don't pay a VIG, so it's cheaper to bet on BroThrow than any sportsbook you've ever used. I don't bet NFL often, but I did win 160 on some Sunday games, and I already have my bets in on Ole Miss money line on Thanksgiving and a few others that are happening on Friday. There's no minimum bets, there's no withdrawal requirements, it's really easy to use, and you can start betting on games for as little as $1, and you can get your winnings without any headache. So if you think you might want to bet on some bowl games or maybe the playoff, I would go and make an account now just so you have it for later. Statistically, Iowa's D is on the same level as Michigan and Illinois. They know they're one win away from a championship revenge game against Ohio State or Michigan, and since they lost to them both earlier this year, they want that rematch even more. Iowa wins if they can get good field position. Turnovers and quick stops for punts equals easy points. And since their offense is one of the worst in the country, I know Kirk's game plan and efforts this week are once again all in on the defense. Nebraska's number one key to success is to get a lead early. 7 points, 9, 13, I don't really care. Iowa struggles to play from behind just like Wisconsin did. And with just a tiny bit more offense in the second half, Nebraska wins games like that. Anthony Grant and Trey Palmer are both in 1,000-yard territory, and with a big game, both could hit that number. I know most fans are checked out and just waiting for the Matt Rule announcement, but I'm honestly excited to watch this team play one more time, and I really do believe they can win, even though they've shown me time and time again it's just not meant to be. I'm taking Nebraska to win 23-21 because as bad as they've been all year, they still won't quit. This staff continues to fight through adversity, and although this is the worst season in 50 plus years, they're still playing a very average Iowa. I'm already on the plus 10.5, and I took over 38 because I'm hoping for some points. But I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comments below. Can Nebraska finally beat Iowa, or do we have to wait at least one more year? Are you fired up for this game, or are you completely drained with the struggles from these last 11? And do you think Casey's lined up to have a big final game as a Cornhusker, or is there a chance he comes back next year? It's been a tough 2022, but I'm glad I've had you guys to help me get through it. I'll be live right after the game on Friday. So until then, thank you for being here. Have a good Thanksgiving, and I'll see you in the next one. Go Big Red.